I found out my dad isn't my biological father through a casual DNA test gifted at Christmas, and the fallout has completely shattered my parents' 30-year marriage. I feel like the ground has just opened up and swallowed my entire life whole. To give you some context, my parents have been married for 30 years. They are that couple, the high school sweethearts, the ones who hold hands in the grocery store, the pillars of our community. Everyone looks at them and says, that's what love is supposed to look like. My dad is my hero. He taught me how to ride a bike, how to drive, how to be a decent human being. We look alike, or at least I thought we did. Same mannerisms, same dry sense of humor. I never, not once in my 27 years of life, doubted that I was his son. For Christmas this year, I thought it would be a fun idea to get the whole family those DNA ancestry kits. You know the ones. My mom is obsessed with genealogy and has been trying to build a family tree for years, so I bought 3 kits. One for me, one for mom, and one for dad. We all spat in the tubes on Christmas morning, laughed about how gross it was, and mailed them off. I didn't think anything of it. I was expecting to see a breakdown of our Irish and German heritage. Maybe find a distant cousin or two. The results came in via email this morning. I opened mine first. The ethnicity estimate was standard stuff, but then I clicked on the DNA matches tab. My mom was right there at the top, parent/child, but my dad wasn't there. I refreshed the page. I thought maybe his results hadn't processed yet. I logged into his account. I set them all up, so I have the passwords to check. His results were in. He had a list of matches, mostly second and third cousins I didn't recognize. I went back to my profile. I scrolled down. There was a man listed as parent/child match, a man named Robert, who I have never heard of in my life. I feel sick. I stared at the screen for an hour, trying to make the math work, trying to find a glitch. But science is science. My dad, the man who raised me, the man I love more than anything, isn't my biological father. And implied in that fact is that my mother, the woman who claims to value loyalty above all else, lied to him. Or maybe she doesn't know. No, she has to know. You don't just accidentally sleep with a stranger named Robert. I am currently sitting on this information, and it feels like I'm holding a live grenade. We are supposed to have a big family dinner this Sunday. If I tell the truth, I blow up my family. If I stay silent, I feel like I'm betraying my dad by letting him live a lie. But if I tell him, I destroy him. I am panicking. Do I confront my mother first and give her a chance to explain? Or do I sit them both down at the same time? Does my dad have a right to know after 27 years? Or is ignorance bliss in this scenario? Please, I need perspective before I ruin everything. Commenter 1. OP, you absolutely cannot just drop this bomb at a family dinner. Do not do that. You need to speak to your mother alone first. There is a very slim chance this is a result of something traumatic. Or maybe they used a donor because of fertility issues and just never told you. Give her the grace to explain herself before you torch the marriage. If she cheated, that's on her, but you need the full story first. Commenter 2. I disagree with the protect mom approach. Your dad has been living a lie for nearly 3 decades. That is paternity fraud, plain and simple. He has a right to know his medical history, his legacy, and the truth of his life. If you hide this, you become an accomplice to your mother's lie. It's going to hurt, but the truth always comes out eventually. Better it comes from you than a random medical emergency later. Commenter 3. This is heartbreaking. I went through something similar, and my advice is to tread carefully. Once you say it, you can't unsay it. I would talk to your mom privately. Watch her reaction. If she crumbles and admits to an affair, tell her she has a set amount of time to tell your dad, or you will. But don't blindside your dad without giving your mom a chance to prepare the landing, however rough it's going to be. Update 1. 2 days later. I read every single comment, and while I was torn between the burn it down and keep the peace crowds, I realized I couldn't look my dad in the eye until I knew the truth. I decided to confront my mother alone. I needed to see her face when I said the name. I needed to know if this was a sperm donor situation or if my entire childhood was built on a foundation of lies. I went over to their house yesterday afternoon. I knew Dad would be at his golf league, so I had about 3 hours. Mom was in the kitchen, making tea, looking so normal, so comforting. It made my stomach turn. I sat at the kitchen table and told her that the DNA results had come back. She smiled and asked me if we were as Irish as she thought we were. I didn't smile back. I told her that the ethnicity part was fine, but the family matching part was confusing. I said that Dad didn't show up on my list. Her smile faltered, just a fraction, but she kept scrubbing the counter. She told me that technology is glitchy sometimes and that those tests aren't 100% accurate. I pressed harder. I told her that I matched with a man named Robert. The sponge dropped from her hand. It was like watching a statue crack. All the color drained from her face, leaving her looking gray and old. She gripped the edge of the sink and didn't turn around to look at me. I asked her who Robert was. I asked her if Dad knew. She started crying, not a soft cry, but a heavy, heaving sob. She turned around and begged me to keep my voice down, even though we were the only ones in the house. She told me it was a mistake. She told me it was one night, 28 years ago, when she and Dad were on a break that I never knew about. She said it meant nothing. She said Robert was a nobody, a guy from a conference she went to for work. I felt a cold rage I've never felt before. I asked her if Dad knew there was even a possibility. She shook her head. She admitted that she suspected, deep down, because the timeline was tight. but she prayed it was Dad's and just buried the truth. She let him sign the birth certificate. She let him raise me. She let him pay for my college. She let him love me as his own flesh and blood for 27 years, all while banking on the fact that biology would never catch up with her. I told her that she had to tell him. I said I wasn't going to carry this secret for her. She grabbed my arm, digging her nails in, pleading with me. She said it would kill him. She said it would destroy everything they had built. She tried to manipulate me, saying that if I loved my dad, I wouldn't hurt him like this. That was the moment the front door opened. We hadn't heard the car pull up. Dad walked into the kitchen, wearing his windbreaker, looking flushed and happy from his game. He saw Mom crying and me looking like I wanted to punch a hole in the wall. He immediately went into protector mode. He rushed over to Mom, asking what was wrong, asking if someone had died. Mom couldn't speak. She just kept sobbing, looking at me with terrified eyes, silently begging me to shut up. But I looked at my dad, who was looking at me with so much concern and love, and I realized he was the only innocent person in the room. I couldn't lie to him. I just couldn't do it. I told him that the DNA results came back. I told him that he wasn't my biological father. The silence that followed was louder than any scream. Dad froze. He looked at me, then he looked at Mom. He waited for her to laugh, to call me crazy, to explain the misunderstanding. But she didn't. She just put her face in her hands and whispered, "I'm so sorry, Dave. I'm so sorry." I watched my dad age 10 years in 10 seconds. The confusion melted into realization, and then into a look of absolute betrayal that I will see in my nightmares for the rest of my life. He backed away from her like she was contagious. He asked her, in a voice that didn't sound like his, if it was true. She nodded. He didn't yell. He didn't throw things. He just turned around, walked out the front door, got back into his truck, and drove away. I stayed for about 10 minutes while my mother had a complete meltdown on the kitchen floor, wailing about how I had ruined her life. I told her she ruined her own life 28 years ago, and I left. I've been back at my place for a day now. Dad hasn't answered my calls. Mom has texted me 40 times, alternating between apologizing and blaming me for destroying the family. I don't know where Dad is. I called my uncle, his brother, but he hasn't heard from him either. I'm terrified he's going to do something stupid. I feel like I just nuked my entire world. My dad is missing. Not police report missing yet, but he's gone dark. I don't know how to find him or what to say if I do. Should I go out looking for him, or does he need space? And how do I handle my mother, who is currently painting me as the villain to my aunts and uncles, without telling them the full truth? I feel guilty, sick, and angry all at once. Did I do the wrong thing by blurting it out? Commenter 1. You did not do the wrong thing. Let me repeat that. You did not do the wrong thing. Your mother is gaslighting you. She's the one who lied for decades. She's the one who cheated. You just turned on the lights. You didn't create the mess. As for your dad, give him a little time. But maybe text him something simple like, "I love you. You are my dad no matter what, and I'm here when you're ready." He needs to know he hasn't lost you too. Commenter 2. I'm worried about your dad. Men of that generation often don't have the tools to process emotional trauma like this. If you know where he usually goes to clear his head, a fishing spot, a specific bar, a friend's house, go check. Don't push him to talk, just be there. And ignore your mother. Block her number for a few days if you have to. She is in damage control mode, and she will drag you down to save herself. Commenter 3. The fact that your mom is already trying to spin the narrative to the extended family tells you everything you need to know about her character. You need to get ahead of this with the family before she poisons the well. Tell your uncle the truth, specifically that the DNA test proved dad isn't your bio-father and mom admitted to an affair. You need allies right now. Don't let her isolate you. Update 2. 4 days later. I didn't sleep for about 72 hours. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart hammered against my ribs, thinking it might be the police telling me they found his truck wrapped around a tree. I took the advice from Commenter 2 and tried to think like him. Where does he go when he's stressed? Usually, the garage. But he wasn't there. Then I remembered this dive bar near the lake, about 40 minutes out of town. It's where he used to go with his buddies back in the 90s before he cleaned up his act for the family image. I drove out there on Tuesday night. His truck was in the parking lot. I have never been so relieved and so terrified at the same time. I walked into the bar. It was dark, smelling of stale beer and sawdust. He was sitting in a booth in the back, alone. He wasn't drunk, which surprised me. He had a half-empty pitcher of water and a plate of cold fries in front of him. He was just staring at the wall. He looked like he hadn't showered in days. He was wearing the same clothes he had on during the golf game. I sat down opposite him. He didn't look up. He just said, "I'm not going back there." I told him he didn't have to. I told him he could stay with me. I reached across the table and grabbed his hand. It was shaking. He looked at me then, really looked at me, searching my face for Robert. It broke me. "I'm still your son," I told him. "You raised me. You fixed my scraped knees. You taught me how to shave. Robert is just biology. You're my dad." He started crying again, silently this time. He squeezed my hand back. We sat there for an hour in silence before I convinced him to leave. He's currently crashing on my pull-out couch. He refuses to turn his phone on. He says he can't hear her voice right now or he'll lose his mind. Meanwhile, my mother has gone full scorched earth. Since she can't reach Dad and I wasn't answering, she unleashed her sisters, my aunts, on me. I started getting texts from my Aunt Linda and Aunt Evelyn. Aunt Linda, I can't believe you would speak to your mother that way. She is worried sick. You need to apologize and tell us where your father is immediately. You are tearing this family apart with your drama. Aunt Evelyn, your mother says you're having some kind of episode? Please answer the phone. We love you, but you're scaring everyone. Just come home. She is telling them I'm having a mental breakdown. She's spinning this narrative that I made up a lie to hurt her, or that I'm confused, or on drugs. She hasn't told anyone about the DNA test. She's protecting her reputation at the cost of my sanity. My dad is barely functioning. He spends all day staring at the TV without seeing it. He needs a lawyer, but he's too paralyzed to move. Do I make the appointment for him? And what do I do about my extended family? If I tell them the truth, I humiliate my dad publicly. If I don't, they keep harassing me and thinking I'm the villain. How do I clear my name without destroying what's left of my dad's dignity? Commenter 1. Stop protecting your mother. She isn't protecting anyone but herself. She is actively slandering you to cover up her infidelity. You need to drop the nuke, OP. Screenshot the DNA results. Screenshot the text messages where she admitted it, if you have them, or just write a clear, concise text to the family group chat. Mom had an affair 28 years ago. Dad is not my biological father. The DNA test proved it, and she admitted it. Dad is safe with me. Leave us alone. Rip the band-aid off. Commenter 2. Your dad's dignity was already taken by your mother's lie. The truth is the only thing that gives him power back. Right now, he looks like a husband who ran away for no reason. People are speculating. Control the narrative before she convinces everyone he's having a midlife crisis or that you're unstable. And yes, get the lawyer. Dad is in shock. He needs you to be his executive function right now. Update 3. 1 week later. I took the nuclear option. I had to. On Thursday, my phone blew up. My grandmother, Mom's mom, called me, leaving a voicemail crying, asking why I was abusing my mother. That was the final straw. My mom was weaponizing my grandmother. I walked into the living room. Dad was sitting on the couch, wrapped in a blanket. I told him what was happening. I told him Mom was telling everyone I was crazy. I asked him for permission to tell the truth. He looked tired, but for the first time in days, his eyes focused. He sat up. He said, "She's making you the bad guy?" I nodded. He took a deep breath and said, "Tell them. I don't care anymore. Just tell them." I created a group chat with my aunts, uncles, and grandparents. I didn't add my mother. I typed out a message. I kept it clinical, just like commenter 1 suggested. I am not having a breakdown. I took a DNA test for Christmas. It confirms that Dad is not my biological father. I matched with a man named Robert. Mom admitted to the affair when I confronted her. Dad is devastated and is staying with me. Please stop harassing me for exposing a secret that should have been told 27 years ago. If you want more details, ask her. I attached the screenshot of the DNA match showing Robert's father. Then I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and cooked Dad a steak dinner. When I checked my phone 2 hours later, it was chaos. Aunt Linda had left 3 voicemails, shifting from anger to shock. My cousin, Linda's son, texted me, "Holy shit dude, is this real?" But the silence from my mother was the loudest part. She stopped texting me immediately. I guess she realized her crazy son narrative doesn't hold up against a screenshot of a genetic profile. The next morning, the doorbell rang. I checked the camera. It was my mother. She looked manic. Her hair was messy. Her eyes were swollen. She was pounding on the door, shouting for Dave. Dad went pale. He stood up and started pacing the kitchen, looking like a trapped animal. I told him to go into the bedroom and lock the door. I went outside to deal with her. She tried to push past me. She was hysterical. She kept saying, "I can fix this, let me talk to him, it was just a mistake." I blocked the doorway. I'm 6 feet 2 inches and I work out. She's 5 feet 4 inches. She wasn't getting in. I told her to leave. She looked at me with pure venom. She said, "You ungrateful little shit. I carried you. I raised you. How could you humiliate me like this to my family?" "You humiliated yourself," I said. "You humiliated Dad every single day you didn't tell him the truth." She started screaming that I ruined the family, that I was trying to destroy her reputation, that Robert meant nothing. Then, my dad came out. I told him to stay inside, but he stepped onto the porch. He looked at her. He didn't look sad anymore. He looks done. "David, baby, please," she wailed, reaching for him. He stepped back. "I'm filing for divorce, Helen. I already spoke to a lawyer this morning. I hadn't known he did this. He must have done it while I was working. Do not come here again. Do not call me. Talk to my attorney." She froze. She realized the crying act wasn't working. Her face hardened. It was scary how fast the switch flipped. She straightened her coat, wiped her face, and looked at him with cold, dead eyes. "Fine," she spat. "If you want to throw away 30 years over a technicality, go ahead. But don't expect to keep the house." She marched to her car and drove off. We went back inside. Dad collapsed onto the couch and slept for 12 hours straight. Now, the real fallout begins. My extended family is split. Mom's side is mostly horrified. But Aunt Linda is trying to broker a reconciliation, saying that Jesus forgives. My dad's brother, my co-uncle, called and said he's coming to town to help us move Dad's stuff out while Mom is at work. But here's the twist I didn't see coming. Last night, I got an email notification from the DNA site. I had a new message. It was from Robert. Subject, "I think we need to talk." Message, "Hi, I saw your name pop up as a match last week. I didn't reach out because I didn't know the situation, but I recognized your last name. I knew your mother, Helen. I didn't know she had a son. Looking at the dates, I think I have a right to know. Are you mine? I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. Dad is in the other room, finally sleeping peacefully. If I tell him the biological father is reaching out, it might crush him all over again. But I am curious. I have a biological father out there who apparently didn't know I existed. Update 4. 2 months later. I promised I would come back and let you guys know how this nightmare ended. Or, well, how the new normal began. It's been a chaotic 2 months, but I finally feel like the ground isn't shaking anymore. To answer the burning questions from the last post, yes, I replied to Robert. Yes, my parents are divorcing. No, Aunt Linda has not stopped being a nuisance, but she is now blocked on every platform I own. Things got very ugly before they got better. After my last post, I decided to take the advice of commenter 2 regarding Robert. I sent him a short, guarded email. I told him that his assessment was likely correct, but that my family was in the middle of a divorce sparked by this news, and I wasn't ready to play happy family with a stranger. I told him I would reach out when I was ready. He was surprisingly decent about it. He replied, I understand. I didn't know about the divorce. Take your time. I'm not going anywhere. That gave me the breathing room to focus on Dad. And let me tell you, Dave found his spine. My uncle, Dad's brother, drove his pickup truck down 3 days after the confrontation. We went to the house on a Tuesday morning when we knew Mom would be at work to pack Dad's things. We wanted to avoid a scene. We failed. Mom had apparently taken sick leave to stay home and stew. When we unlocked the door, the house was a wreck. She had been drinking at 10 a.m., and she had gone through old photo albums. There were pictures of us ripped up on the floor. When she saw Dad, she didn't cry this time. She screamed. She launched into a tirade about how he was abandoning her after she gave him the best years of her life. She called him weak. She called me a traitor. My uncle, who is a large man with zero patience for nonsense, stepped between them. Helen, he said, you stepped out on him. You lied for 27 years. You don't get to play the victim. Sit down and shut up, or we call the cops to supervise the move. She sat. She watched us pack up 30 years of his life into cardboard boxes with a look of pure hatred. As we were carrying the last box out, his golf clubs, she looked at me and said, I hope he's worth it. You just lost your mother. I looked at her, surrounded by the debris of her own choices, and I felt nothing. No guilt, no anger, just pity. I lost my mother the day I found out she could look me in the eye and lie to me every single day of my life. I said. We left. The divorce is moving forward. Mom is fighting for alimony, claiming she can't support the lifestyle she's accustomed to. Dad just wants it over. He's offered her the house if she weighs alimony and gives him a clean break on his 401k. She's stalling. Also, I finally agreed to meet Robert for a coffee next week. Just 30 minutes. I'm feeling incredibly guilty, like I'm cheating on my dad. How do I separate the biology from the emotional loyalty? I don't want a new dad, but I feel like I need to see the man whose face I'm wearing. Commenter 1. It is not cheating. You are an adult. Meeting Robert is about your identity, not your dad's marriage. You have a right to know your medical history and where your nose comes from. Just keep expectations low. He's a stranger. He might be cool, he might be boring, he might be a jerk. But going to coffee doesn't undo the 27 years Dave put in. Dave is your dad. Robert is your gene donor. Keep that distinction clear in your head. Commenter 2. Regarding the divorce, let your dad's lawyer handle the lifestyle claims. In many states, infidelity doesn't affect the financial split of assets much, but paternity fraud is a different beast. If she pushes too hard, your dad could technically sue for damages or reimbursement of child-rearing costs. Rare, but a powerful threat. She's stalling because she's losing control. Let her stall. She's alone in a big house she can't afford. Reality will hit her soon. Final update. The aftermath. It's done. I took the advice and told Dad I was meeting Robert. We were sitting in his new apartment, a small 2-bedroom condo he bought last week. It's not as fancy as the old house, but it's his. He has a leather recliner he loves, a massive TV, and zero walking on eggshells. When I told him, he stiffened up for a second. Then he sighed and took a sip of his beer. You're a grown man, son. You have questions. Go get them answered. Just, don't let him recruit you into a pyramid scheme or something. We both laughed. It was the first time we'd really laughed in weeks. I met Robert at a Starbucks in the city, neutral ground. It was the most surreal experience of my life. I walked in, and I saw myself aged 20 years. The same hairline, the same jaw, the same way of holding a coffee cup. We shook hands. His hands felt like mine. We talked for an hour. It wasn't emotional. It was factual. He's an architect. He's divorced, ironically. He has a daughter, my half-sister, who is 19. He told me he truly didn't know about me. He said my mom cut contact with him immediately after their fling. He apologized for the chaos his existence caused, even though it wasn't his fault. He was nice. He was interesting. But he wasn't my dad. When he made a joke, I smiled, but I didn't feel that warm familiarity I have with Dave. When he asked about my job, it felt like an interview, not a father caring about his son. At the end, he gave me his card. I'm not trying to step on toes, he said, but if you ever want to know your sister, or just grab a beer, the door is open. I took the card. I might use it someday. I might not. I drove straight from Starbucks to Dad's condo. He was putting together a bookshelf, struggling with the instructions. Typical Dave. He looked up when I came in, trying to gauge my reaction. He looked nervous. How was it? He asked. He's fine, I said. I tossed my keys on the counter and picked up a screwdriver. He's got high cholesterol, so I should watch that. And he's an architect. Dad nodded slowly. Does he want to be involved? I looked at my dad. I saw the fear in his eyes. The fear that he was being replaced, that biology was going to win. He seems like a decent guy, I said. But I told him I'm busy. Busy with what? Dad asked. Busy helping my father put together this cheap IKEA bookshelf before it collapses and kills us both, I said. Dad's face crumpled for a second. Then he smiled, a real, genuine smile that reached his eyes. He grabbed my shoulder and squeezed it hard. He didn't say anything, but he didn't have to. The fallout. My parents' divorce was finalized 3 days ago. Mom got the house, but she had to buy Dad out of his share of the equity. To afford it, she had to drain her savings. She's living alone in a 4-bedroom house she can barely afford, and from what I hear, she's miserable. She tries to text me on holidays. I don't reply. Maybe one day I will, but not today. Dad is flourishing. He's joined a hiking club. He's reconnecting with old friends he drifted away from because Mom didn't like them. He looks 10 years younger. And me? I'm okay. My sense of identity took a hit, sure. It's weird looking in the mirror and knowing my history is different than I thought. But I realized that family isn't about whose blood runs in your veins. It's about who stays when the grenade goes off. My mom ran for cover. My dad stood in the blast zone with me. So, thanks, Reddit. Thanks for talking me off the ledge. Thanks for telling me to buy the DNA test, even if it ruined everything. Because honestly, it didn't ruin everything. It burned down a fake life so we could build a real one. I'm going to go over to Dad's now. It's Tuesday, and we have a standing appointment for tacos and bad action movies. Signing off.